Have you ever wondered if you're paying too much for rent? When Syracuse announced that they were having a hackathon around housing data sets that they open sourced, that made me question everything. You see, looking through Reddit and talking with some of my friends who rent, I discovered that many had no idea if they were getting a good deal or not. Here's what I found. The city had released several different data sets that could tell you everything from code violations to similar rental prices, but no one really figured out how to piece them all together. That's when I had an idea. Syracuse released several different data sets about properties, and inside these data sets were some shocking revelations about landlords and properties that most people when renting would never discover until it was too late and they were already moved in and paying rent. So what I did is I spent 3 days digging through this data, and I uncovered patterns that no one else was talking about, like the landlord who had over 100 code violations but was still charging top of the market rents. But the real problem wasn't just finding this information, it was that these data sets were completely disconnected from each other. A renter would need to search several different places just to get the full picture about a single apartment. That's when I had an idea at 2 a.m. that I thought might be impossible, but if it worked, it would completely transform how people find apartments. I realized I could build an app that overlays all this data in one place. So that's exactly what I set out to do. First, I pulled in the rental registry data. This shows which landlords are actually licensed and legally permitted to rent. You'd be shocked how many aren't. Then I added property value assessments, so you could see if your rent aligns with what the city thinks the property is worth. Next came in the big part, the code violations. Imagine knowing before you sign a lease that your potential landlord has 14 outstanding violations for things like faulty wiring or mold issues. I didn't stop there. I incorporated Zillow's rental data to show market averages by neighborhood, so you could instantly see if you're being overcharged. But the real magic happened when I added air quality readings and walkability scores. Now renters could see the complete picture, not just the apartment itself and the hardwood floors and the granite countertops or things like that, but actually how livable the surrounding area actually is. Here's what it looked like in action. Alright guys, so here is the app that I made. I'm calling it Rent Detective. As you can see here, we have all the various apartments that are in Syracuse, and when you hover over them, they show the location on the map here on the right, and that uses Google Maps. And then we'll go ahead and we'll click into one of these listings here. We'll do Iron Pier Apartments. That's a cool complex that has some retail shops and some cafes and breweries and stuff beneath it. You can see the name of the complex, where it's located, and the rents from the low end to the high end. The next thing here is the rent versus buy calculator. And what this does is it shows you for your monthly payment of, the high end here of $27.50, here's the estimated home price you could afford with a 7.3% interest rate. And again, I just wanted to put a note here that this doesn't include taxes or insurance or PMI, but you would be able to afford a $400,000 home on a payment of $27.50 that you may be paying in rent. So pretty cool to kind of know that comparison between what you can afford versus a rental and what you can afford to buy. We also have the trends here, and this is mainly pulled from Zillow. You can see the projected annual change of the rent and the estimated dollar amount that's going to be. So they are projecting an increase in rent. And then you can see the current market rate for the rents as well, which is pretty cool. The next feature here is the rent negotiation script. And what this does is it takes the code violations and some of the other data and it feeds it into ChatGPT. And ChatGPT gives you back a script that you can use to try and negotiate your rent for a lower price. Next is kind of the environmental and green section of the app. I show you the air quality, the walkability score, the bikeability score, and then how many green spaces are near this apartment complex. So you can see there's 20 nearby parks, and we show them in the component below. You can see them on Google Maps, and you also get the rating from Google Maps as well. And then last here is a section showing all the different code violations for the property, the different property assessments within a half-mile radius, some vacant properties if there are any, and then other nearby rentals that are in the rental registry. So this is the app that I submitted to the competition. Stay tuned to see if I even come in the top 3. For the first time, Syracuse renters could make truly informed decisions about one of their biggest monthly expenses. When I showed this to a few friends, they told me I needed to enter the Open Data Day competition because they thought this idea was genius. But there was a catch. I only had about a week until the submission deadline, and the other people in the competition, they've been working on their projects for about a month now. And despite the time crunch, I decided to go for it. But I didn't really realize who and what I'd be up against. So it's competition day now, and I just arrived at the venue. It's packed with college kids from Syracuse University, computer science and data science majors who have been coding and analyzing this data for weeks. And to be honest, I was kind of worried. I think college kids, they probably had more time, so they might be able to pour, more hours into this than I could. So there I was. So now I'm sitting inside the venue and I'm listening to a presentation when I had an idea. And this idea was for a rent negotiator feature. I thought I could use the code violations and some of the other data and feed it into ChatGPT and have it give a script to the user that they could follow to try and negotiate their rent. So during the presentation, I opened up my laptop and I began to code furiously as the deadline was approaching in only a couple hours. Luckily, I was able to get the feature in and I submitted my code before the deadline. Now, all I could do is just sit back and wait. I watched team after team present sophisticated data correlations and flashy visualizations. One group had 5 members and had been working on their project for over a month. Meanwhile, I was still crossing my fingers and hoping that my project would measure up. When my turn came, I gotta be honest, I was a little nervous. I began my demo and I explained how the app combined the data sets to help renters make informed decisions. I showed the interface and demonstrated a real-world example of how it could save someone hundreds of dollars a month while keeping them safer. The room went silent when I finished. I couldn't tell if I answered all their questions or if that was good or bad. After what felt like an eternity, everyone presented and now the judges went into another room and they started to calculate the scores. Now it was time for the big announcement. Third place went to a team of data science students. Second place went to a group that did a project about renewable energy. And then first place. They called my name. I had won with a project I built in just several days. I couldn't believe it. I even got a little prize money and got a picture with one of those big fancy checks. How freaking cool is that? This project taught me a couple things. You see, you don't need a team of specialists or have months of development time to create something that people find valuable. Sometimes all it takes is having an idea and going for it. Whether you're building AI models like I did in previous videos or you're creating data-driven applications, the principle is the same. Just focus on solving a specific problem really well. That wraps it up for this video. If you're interested in learning more about other applications and automations that I use in real life, go ahead and click the link below and join the list. I'll even give you a cool gift upon sign up.